Stix Bunkjunker, aka Katamari Damacy, is the fourth boss of the Liberation from Undermine raid in World of Warcraft: The War Within. This is a single-phase boss fight where players are going to be rolling around trash balls, increasing their size by collecting extra units until their trash ball becomes unstoppable. You're going to be dealing with detonating bombs and staying out of fiery patches. So starting it all off, he's going to demolish the active tank. This is the tank swap mechanic, but do not swap immediately upon receiving demolish. Wait until he puts out yellow arrows on everybody's head before you perform the tank swap. After reaching 100 energy, he's going to mark the active tank and 3 other players with yellow arrows. These players need to face away from the boss, and after a delay, will begin rolling on a pile of garbage. Your pile of garbage starts size small, and the boss is going to summon a bunch of small and medium piles of garbage, as well as a set of mobs and a bomb. On heroic difficulty, he's also going to summon some hermit crabs that stand on top of some of the medium piles. Players with the yellow arrow need to roll around on top of these small piles of trash, collecting 4 of those piles to upgrade their trash to a medium-sized ball. At this point, they're able to pick up any of the NPCs around the map other than the boss, as well as medium-sized piles, to continue to increase their ball size. Once they've collected 4 medium or 8 small piles, that will then transform them into a large ball. With the large ball, you can hit the bomb that appears. This will detonate the bomb and do muffled damage to the raid. If you miss taking out the bomb, it explodes and puts a massive debuff on the entire raid that's going to take for a really long time. Once the bomb is taken out, all other large balls should try and collect as much garbage as they can, and then slam the ball into the boss before the duration ends. Each ball that hits the boss is going to deal 1.5% of his health, so it's a significant chunk to be able to hit him with 3 of the balls every phase. Any mobs that you pick up while you're rolling about will receive a debuff upon hitting the boss that increases their damage taken by 100%. Ideally, all mobs that spawn should be picked up by one of the balls and then slammed into the boss at the end to allow players to burn them down a lot more effectively. The exception to this is on heroic, the hermit crabs. If a medium or larger ball hits a hermit crab, it detonates. The hermit crab will explode and leave a fiery patch that deals AoE damage to the entire raid. All ball rollers need to avoid the hermit crabs. Now, these crabs are guarding some of the medium-sized piles, so players that are not on the garbage balls need to focus down these hermit crabs. Once they get to 70% HP, they'll hop off the trash pile and you can pull them into the boss. If you leave these things alive for more than 30 seconds, they'll detonate anyways, so you definitely need to prioritize them. As the balls are going about, try and move the boss to areas that have been cleaned up of garbage to make sure the players have a lot more room to work with. Throughout the fight, try to avoid standing in any of the garbage piles, as they deal damage over time. Also, the boss targets random players with different fire-based moves, and if you're near a garbage pile when you take one of these fire attacks, you light the pile on fire, making it no longer be able to be gathered by the ball rollers, and make it deal constant AoE damage to the raid. Too many burning piles is kind of a soft rage on this boss fight, so you need to be managing your garbage piles effectively. Whenever you get the red circles, make sure to move them away from any existing piles, as well as not stacking them up, because the damage is quite a bit. The Scrapmasters are some goblins that are going to get spawned during the garbage phase. These guys are going to cast a long interruptible ability that you need to interrupt as often as possible so you can pull them into the tanks a lot easier. They cannot be gripped or moved in any way, and their only movement is going to be based off interrupting them and then gaining threat on them. There are also going to be some hyenas rolling around that the tank should try and generate threat on as soon as they spawn. Though ideally you want these picked up by one of the garbage balls, you definitely don't want them getting onto your healers and wiping those players out with the stacking disease that they apply. DPS players need to be focusing on the Scrapmasters and the hyenas in normal difficulty, and on heroic they need to be focusing on all of the territorial bombshells first and then focusing on the other mobs. If the Scrapmasters last too long, they're going to do a dumpster dive. They'll leap up in the air and slam down near a pile of garbage. The longer those things last, the more garbage you're going to have burned up. While the tank with the garbage ball is rolling around, occasionally the boss is going to blast out a channeled attack onto the current tank. That player needs to use a defensive cooldown to last through the damage, and if you have the demolish debuff and you receive this attack, you're most likely going to die. Which is why you want to make sure that the player that gets the demolish debuff is the one rolling around and not the active tank in the intermission. Eventually the boss becomes impatient and begins overdrive. He'll fly up in the air and begin zapping the area with some lightning effects. Then he'll create a big blue circle and slam down on that. All players need to get out of all of these different blue circles. After performing this, he'll increase his attack speed by 25%, and he'll begin summoning more adds in every phase. From our testing, it seems like the more large-sized garbage balls that you hit with him, the slower he goes into this overdrive mode. So you want to make sure to hit him with as many of them as you possibly can, while making sure to still get the bombs. Once you get practiced at rolling around your garbage balls, picking up all of the mobs, and taking out the bombs, you're going to find this boss goes down pretty smooth. but there's a lot going on and a lot to pay attention to, so it is quite chaotic to learn in the first place. I hope this guide helped you figure out how to take down Stix Bunkjunker. If you want to know the mythic changes, you're going to have to check out that guide right over here. I'm Zesty Fresh from Sazaza Games, and we'll catch you guys next time.